Hello, and thank you for listening. My name is Luke Mardigian, and you are listening to Be Insured, where we talk about business, leadership, and insurance. That way, on your worst day, when you need it the most, you will be insured. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to tell you about a phenomenal resource we created just for you. And we're going to get into that about a minute and a half into the show. So stick with us. You're going to love this free resource. It's a free download we created just for our listeners. We have never released this before outside of our own business, and we are so excited to share it with the world. So listeners, do you feel like you're constantly busy but barely moving the needle on your to-do list? I've totally been there, and it's frustrating. I was always trying new ways to be more efficient, learn time hacks, crazy stuff like that, but nothing ever really worked until I discovered a concept called time blocking. And it changed everything for me and my business. Today, we're going to talk about why time blocking is the best way to maximize your productivity, take control of your schedule and your life, and stop giving it to your employees and to your clients. So joining me for today's conversation is my awesome co-host,
Eric Gestring, the Mardigian Agency. And Luke, can you explain to everybody what time blocking is?
That's a great question, Eric. Time blocking is where you actually block out chunks of time for specific tasks. There's a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And he talks about how it takes almost 45 minutes for your brain just to get focused on a task. How many of us spend less than that on any task? I mean, like almost everything I ever did for years.
I would say the majority of us, yeah.
So when you take a 3-hour block and you say, during this 3-hour block, I am
only
going
doing
to...
this.
And that's it.
Yep.
And nobody can interrupt me. My phone's off. Facebook's not open. All I'm doing is working on this one task. Suddenly, you get superpowers and you do it so good that you blow your socks off. And what's cool is if you don't know what time blocking is or you're having trouble visualizing it, we're offering a free download, which is Eric and I's exact time blocking template. So Eric used Microsoft Excel. I used Apple Pages software to create my time block. And if you go to beinsuredonline.com/time block, TIMEBLOCK, beinsuredonline.com/time block, you can just click on it and we'll email you our actual templates that you can copy and apply today before you even finish listening to the show.
And it's literally the ones we use. But
it's our actual schedule, so you'll know where I'm at all times, which is kind of weird. But
Luke, okay what pain points or struggles were you facing that led you to adopt the time blocking strategy?
Hey, do you got a minute?
Yeah. From everybody?
From everyone on the planet. Every client, my wife, my kids, my employees, my sales team, my managers, my executives, my underwriters, everyone. Hey, you got a minute? I just got a quick question for you. And that was my entire day. So what ended up happening is while my intentions were good, I would start on projects, be interrupted, and then have to move on to the next thing without completing the project. So I had all these unfinished things and I wondered why my anxiety was so high because I wasn't actually getting anything done, but I was doing a lot of activity without
so you were
a lot of results.
Tired as heck, and you had nothing to show for it, is what we felt like.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it felt like my clients and my employees were running my life, not me running the business.
And how does time blocking prevent you from them taking that time away from you?
Well, there's a few steps to it. Okay. So the first one is, number one, you have to actually figure out what your priorities and goals are. So that's not the purpose of this show, but that's actually a great topic for a future show.
Money making activities? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. The important stuff. Well, just whatever you want to get done. I mean, if you want to get in shape and you have to know what you want to do first. Mm-hmm. Once you realize what your priorities are, then the second thing is actually sitting down using our template that you can get on beinsuredonline.com/time block. And you can start plugging in those priorities into time blocks. I like 2 to 3 hour time blocks. That's about how long it takes for me to get into this psychological state called flow. The best way to explain that is if you are free climbing a sheer cliff, are you thinking about whether you picked up milk from the grocery store yesterday or not? No. All you're focused on is not dying. That's your only thing. I don't want to die. That's it. That's all you can focus on. So you're focused on the next grip and the next grip and where your feet are going to go and what your next approach is. And that's all you can think because you're in a state of flow. All you can focus on is the task at hand. Well, for me, it takes about an hour and a half to get into flow. And then I maximize that by getting another hour to hour and a half of work done after I'm in a state of flow. So
Love it.
So you create your priorities, number one, or your goals for the year. Number two, you actually put them into specific time slots. Now, this third one I think is the most important for actually getting traction to this idea, which is hopefully you have team meetings or family meetings or something where you're communicating with the people who care about your schedule, and you can actually sit down with your time block and present it to your team. This is my schedule. This is how things are going to run.
Strictly.
For my team, it was important that I gave everybody access to me for 45 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes in the afternoon. So that way they don't feel like, oh, I got a question I need answered. I can't move on without it. Well, they know when they can reach out to me without interrupting my productivity time. So I'm still accessible. I'm not saying don't come to me and say, hey, do you got a minute? But it has to be in specific times.
And then that empowers the team to look into things on their own or reach out to home office or whatever
if they need it
to
in
do.
less than 3 hours or whatever the time frame is until my next window of opportunity for communication, they have to go find it themselves. They go get their own resources. So what I found is last week was I changed my time block for 2020. I put it in place. Last week was the first full week I could do it because of other obligations and trips that I had in the beginning of the year. And what I found was no one asked me questions. It was the weirdest thing. I got like 4 questions the entire week. I got tons of stuff done and my team got tons of stuff done. And I only got like 4 questions. When normally I get like 4 questions an hour. Crazy. So buy-in from your team. So first, establish your goals and priorities. 2, actually sit down and put them into a time block, a schedule. So for me, like at 3:00 on Tuesday through Friday, I have a workout scheduled. Why? Because my kids get off the bus at 3:40. So that's just a really important time frame for me to get that in so that way I can greet my kids off the bus. That's my schedule.
That's an important thing, is to establish that balance.
Yeah, it's not just your work schedule. This is everything. If you do a date night with your spouse, that needs to be time blocked and protected. So the third thing is sharing it with the team or your family. And that's really all about setting boundaries. It's okay to tell people, no, you can't reach out to me from 1:00 to 3:00 because I'm working on projects. That is okay. In our society where we can DM people and text message them immediately and instant emails and FaceTime and all these ways that we can communicate.
Everybody wants it now.
It's okay to tell people no. I have things to get done, okay? Especially if you're a business owner, or particularly this is geared toward business owners and salespeople. You have a lot of freedom and flexibility. It's really easy just to be like, I'm not going to do it today. I don't feel like it. Well, what I found is discipline trumps motivation every day, because your motivation is going to wane. But if you have a disciplined schedule, you can crush anything.
It's funny because I think that coming from our backgrounds, we kind of enjoy having that feeling of consistent schedule.
Yeah, the
obviously
structure.
the routine.
Yep.
I mean, we're humans, we're creatures of habit anyway.
Yep.
So I think the majority of us would like to do this and aren't doing it. And honestly, I think we both had fears coming into starting to utilize time blocking, and we struggled with it. And we're not saying that you can't take a call from your spouse or something in the middle of
from
some
the plan slightly. Like I have to work out. Monday's not normally a workout day, but yesterday I had some family stuff, so today became a workout day. I couldn't get a workout.
Yeah, you
on
move
Sunday.
things around, whatever.
And that's okay.
Make it work. But for us, coming from our background, you were in law enforcement, I was in the military. That discipline, the routine, is something we actually crave, which is weird.
Yeah, right. You come in. For me, I came in every day. I had to get into my uniform. I had a very specific order that I put my uniform in, because it just made sense to put it on that way. And then I would grab my duty bag. I'd walk down to the lineup room and I'd sit in lineup. In lineup, we'd all check in, give our car numbers. We'd get briefed on whatever happened on the shift before or during the week. And then we'd go out, do safety checks on our car. And then we'd go to our designated district and start taking calls. That was every day for me for 8 years. So now when you have the freedom of being a business owner or salesperson, and suddenly you're like, hey, I don't have to wake up.
Yeah, no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, there's nobody there. There's no uniform to put on. So that's why you wear a suit. That's why you wear a polo. Whatever your uniform is today, you have to start putting those on, even if you're working from home.
Yep.
I mean, even if you work from home, get your uniform on. Anyway,
that's a good point. I like it.
So, number 1, establish your goals and priorities. Number 2, actually sit down and fill out the time block that we provided to you. You could use your own and just use ours as a go-by, but ours are already built, so I don't know why you wouldn't use another one. Just download those templates. They'll get shot right to your email. And then share it with your team or your family, whoever it is that you are accountable to for your schedule, and draw those boundaries and set those expectations. Because I think so many people want to control their schedule, but they don't set the you don't tell anybody else. Mm-hmm. And you can't meet an unspoken expectation.
Exactly.
So why is my team interrupting me? Well, did you tell them that you can't be interrupted during this time? Well, no, but they should just know. No.
Even every morning when I'm leaving, I tell Darian what my day looks like and how it's kind of going to flow.
Yep.
And I'm sure you do the same thing. I'm sure most of the people listening probably do a similar thing with your spouses and try to figure out kind of how the day is going to flow.
Yeah, or the night before, or whatever that looks like, right? Like this morning, Sarah and I were passing. She went to the gym this morning, and I came to record the shows. And so I screenshot my schedules for the week and sent it to her. And so she's like, okay, don't schedule anything on Friday after 2:30. Okay, great.
And
That's
it's
all she
way
needs to know.
easier when you utilize this material that we've made available to you guys. Time blocking does work. And the way that we utilize it and make it work for us is you take the activities that Luke was saying that are important to you, and you block out that time for the day, whether it's an hour or 3 hours. Luke likes to have longer time blocks, and he does have a point. You get in flow after an hour. So
there's an exception to it, though. There's a book by James Clear, and it's Atomic Habits, I believe. And he talks about how if you're trying to establish a new habit, then you should only do it for the amount of time that it's fun. So like, he had this story of this guy who was trying to lose weight. He was like 300 pounds, went to the gym every day, and he just did 1 rep. Got to the gym, got changed in his gym clothes, went out on the floor, did 1 rep, went back in the locker room, got changed, went back to work. And did that over a year slowly, so that he never got most people go to the personal trainer,
get sore, and then they're like, I'm done.
Yeah, and then they puke, and they're like, I don't want to do this. This sucks. Well, if you want to create a new habit, then you should shorten your time frame so that it's enjoyable. If you're trying to write every day, just start by writing 1 sentence or 1 word. And then slowly over time, you'll just build up a tolerance and find it enjoyable, and you'll be able to get in flow and all those good things. So that's the only exception to the long time blocks.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think what you were talking about, which is the last step in all of this, is execution.
Yep.
Which if you want these summarized, the stuff we're talking about, it's actually going to be in the email that we're sending the download link in, the main points of this show. So if you're trying to take notes, don't worry, I'll kick it to you via email. So execution, Eric, why is executing on a time block so difficult?
Oh, it's difficult because you already brought up the flow thing. It's very hard to get into flow and get focused on what you're doing. Executing, it makes it a challenge at first, in my opinion. But once you've worked the time block for a while, it gets very, very easy because you know exactly what's coming next. You know what I mean?
There's actually freedom in discipline.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do a show here.
Yeah, because you and I both know we have anxiety without using it, right?
Yes.
You're anxious
Where
because
do I start?
what's happening?
What do I do?
Yeah. Am I going to get interrupted? Can I get into this?
Yep.
All these things are going through your head.
Yep. This is so important. Can I get it done in the next 30 minutes before I head out the door?
I have to.
You have no choice because you didn't time block.
Now I'm late to my wife's thing, or in your case, your kid's thing.
Or an appointment with a client. Now you look unprofessional because you didn't plan
control the chaos.
Yes.
100%. Use our tool.
And we'll be doing a future show on what I learned from having a nutrition coach for an entire year, personal nutrition. But one of the main things that he taught me was tracking food. When you track your food, it actually produces more freedom, because if you're accurately tracking it, then they don't have to take away so much next week. Like, hey, I ate 3 Oreo cookies. That's okay, because next week we're just going to eat 2. Not taking it out completely, but because you put it in there, now we know. And so it's amazing when you time block and you actually track what you're doing and scheduling it ahead of time, you end up having more freedom because you know what you're getting done in that time. Mm-hmm. You might be like, oh, I don't need 2.5 hours for that. For writing email sequences, I don't need 2.5 hours. It only takes me 45 minutes. Oh, great. Well, let's make that an hour time block. I'll take a 15-minute break and then jump into something else. But the only way to know it is actually to execute on it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between the greats and the average, is that they execute on ideas like this. They don't just take it in and listen to a show and not take any action. So for our listeners, if you want to take action right now, beinsuredonline.com/time block. Beinsuredonline.com/time block. It's a free download of Eric and mine, our personal time block schedule, the exact software that we use.
I think it's even filled out by me, so you can.
Mine's filled out too.
All you're going to do is delete it and put your own stuff in, but it will be easy for you to understand how we do it.
Yes, and it's completely free. It's a way that you can get action, get feet underneath you, start taking control of your time and your schedule. Because if you don't, your clients and your employees will run your life. I guarantee it. And I'm sure our listeners are going, yep, shaking their head. Yep, that's exactly how I feel. I'm always interrupted. Well, time is such a valuable resource, and time blocking can be a thing that helps you take back control of your workday. I know it's helped Eric and I go from $0 to $4 million in under 5 years. This exact strategy is what we used, and we're just getting better and better at it every year. So if you have any questions or insights on today's show, please feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you or how you've implemented a version of time blocking.
And as always, you can reach out and stay in touch with us following the Mardigian Agency on Facebook or Instagram.
And remember to download that free template for time blocking, beinsuredonline.com/timeblock. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on Be Insured.